All right. All right, people. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Little problem here. Um, I had it on private, so people didn't know that I was on. So my apologies for those people that got that late notice. I was too busy trying to get prepared for this, but I'm here. I got things going here. But we got two of our guests already here. Um, our main one, I guess, is his friend and other expert there. But before we even get started, let me see. The only way I can see you guys' messages is on my phone, on the YouTube thing, or what have you. But let me see here. I'll just use my phone. But in the meantime, you guys please share and subscribe. It's Apollo night on the Sunday, so I try to bring you guys something different than the norm. So this one is a very good treat. We have brother American Brazilian, and please subscribe to him. His link is in the description box. If I can have any mods to put it in there, or I'll put it in there later in the chat. But you guys can't see my chat, but I can still put it in the YouTube chat. Anyhow, but we're going to go into some things, definitely dealing with, overseas, going overseas and starting a new life and having choices and having options. But I'm going to dedicate this one, and I'm quite sure American Brazilian will agree with me to even share this. But I'm going to definitely dedicate this to Brother Charles Tyler. Pretty much, I think he was the main guy. I'm quite sure somebody would probably say they were before him. But for the most part, I believe he was the main guy that was giving us this ideal that we had options. Black men in general, in particular, had options to have, go different places and experience new things when things are not really up to par here. And he had videos, and he had a podcast, and he was working with brother Al Greasy right there. So Al Greasy was another guy that was always helpful if you wanted to be able to travel and have different venues. People criticize different things that they've done, but hey, these brothers did their thing. Matter of fact, Charles Tyler has passed away. He left us in the month of November. I believe it was either 2017 or 18, if anybody correct me. I was there when he passed away, so I was there. Matter of fact, I believe he passed away the same time as Sharon Jones, the famous singer. But anyhow, shout out to Charles Tyler and Al Grease. Al Grease did, I believe, he has a different film series called Frustrated. So you might want to check that out, and that kind of gives you the idea of why we do what we do. We talk the way we talk, and choices we made. Also, another one that we don't shout out enough is John Thompson. He's pretty much one of my elders and mentors. I talk to him on a regular, and this guy, he doesn't get enough credit. But if you want to be navigated around and tell you where you need to go and things like that, because he looks out for the brothers when they come out there. John Thompson is the man. So appreciate all these three brothers here, because they don't get enough credit and enough shout outs for that exposure that they give us to go overseas. So we're going to have this conversation, and I'm going to bring our guest up here. So we got the great American Brazilian. What is going on, brother?
What is going on, my brother? Can you guys hear me pretty good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, thank you guys. I appreciate you for having me. I'm always honored and dare I say, I'm always humbled rather, and dare I say honored to, for anybody to hear anything that I can contribute especially with a topic that is near and dear to my heart and the heart of so many other people. It's interesting, Art. You and I, we've been talking back and forth for quite some time,
Hmm.
and I just want to just say thank you because since I've been a content creator, I literally cannot remember anyone that would bring up a topic like this, something that is so poignant to people like myself who have found love with someone who's not an American and would are willing to and have gone through the process of actually, making the person that the naturalization process. I'll say it that way, and all of the hurdles and that can entail. Not to mention getting them here, or them being here rather, acclimating, and you guys just trying to create a perfect situation in somewhat of an imperfect world. So, man, shout out to you for your foresight because I believe that I believe that, as a result of this conversation, a lot of people will be helped, especially those who are considering doing what myself and so many others have done, and those who are currently in the process. So, thank you, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to everybody in the chat and everybody that'll hear this message, man. Shout out.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate you. And I believe you brought some friends along with you.
Yeah, I did. And now it's interesting. One is actually in the process of, he does a lot of technical things. And so I don't know if he's going to be on, but Lais, she should be here. And Mervin, he should be here. The other guy, my brother Jay, who will soon be my cousin, uh, that's an interesting story.
Okay.
I don't know if he's on, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I see Mervin, and I believe Laisa's her connection is not um, coming through.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we appreciate you coming through as well. I have to give a shout out. I have to give credit to O'Shea.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
Sometimes he helps, and sometimes I'm no good to him. No, I'm joking. But anyhow,
Crazy.
but shout out to O'Shea because a lot of people that goes on his platform, it does. Some of us concrete content creators reach out to you guys and try to do collabs. So whatever he tries to do, it works. And just showing him the utmost respect and appreciation to have that kind of foresight. And we're just going to start building. You know,
Yeah.
let me see Nicole. I forgot about Nicole. Anyhow, so I'm going to bring Merv up here. Ready, go. Merv, are you there,
Hey,
brother?
yes, I am, and thank you for having me. And look forward to the conversation and contributing whatever I can to help people understand the process. And happy to hear that there are brothers, going through the process and looking to go through it. So I'm just happy to meet you, and thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. We're waiting on Lais. What's going on with your
Yeah.
connection, lady? What is
She's
happening?
she's currently in Brazil, and sometimes I know this time is their peak time, which I guess every region has a peak time. When everybody's just been like bombarding the internet. But if I know like she's a soldier, she should hopefully push through this and come on in. So hopefully she will soon.
Okay, and hopefully she can hear. Maybe she can click on the YouTube part while she's waiting. Hopefully she can hear the questions and
Yeah,
people
I
in the
will.
chat. Go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. You're fine. I'm going to put
See,
myself on mute and let you talk.
okay, people in the chat, please hit that like button. I mean, when we have these kind of things, I really need your help the most. Okay, because this kind of stuff is not often shared. So we want to be able to start growing and expanding and bringing things in. For legitimacy sake, right? Just legitimacy sake. Um, but let's see. Okay, I guess she's gonna come back up. But I'll go ahead and start the questions here. So let's go ahead and introduce American Brazilian. Can you tell us about who you are, place of origin, things like that?
Yes. So my name is Larry. My moniker is the American Brazilian. And it's like that because I'm an American who loves Brazil. I'm an American who married a Brazilian, and I am an American who has a son who is an American and half Brazilian. So it's a kind of trifecta of sorts. I am from Jacksonville, Florida. I haven't lived here all my life. While in the military, I was stationed in Philadelphia, San Diego, and Virginia. Didn't like Virginia at all. I thought it was a weird place. Uh, and after my military career, not that I retired, but after my time in the military, I became a merchant seaman. Years later, I was connected with an organization. I became the head of security in that organization, which was not necessarily like a taken situation where you're running around strong on people. It was more administrative, working in conjunction with state and local law officials to, make sure that you get your dignitary to and from their destination with no issues. Traveled extensively, Africa, Canada, Mexico, Germany, Europe, just different places with my dignitary. And once that assignment ended, my mother, of all people, suggested that I, continue to maybe start to travel again. So in the process of doing so, I began to do research, YouTube research of all places, and because it's a plethora of information. And so there were four places that were constantly ringing. There was Costa Rica, there was the DR, there was Colombia, and then there was Brazil. Now, interestingly enough, I've always had this curiosity about Brazil. Not sure why, but even as a kid, I always did. I remember in school, and I was telling my wife this yesterday. Um, we were always taught that Brazilian women were like 6 foot tall, beautiful, and from the Amazon. That's what we believed. And so um, the more I looked into the Costa Ricas, the Dominican Republics, the Colombias, every place that I looked into said the same thing. And they said, before you go to Brazil, come here. Before you go to Brazil, go there. Before you go to Brazil, visit this place. And so I said, well, I have the resources. Maybe I'll just look into Brazil. So in my process of looking into Brazil and focusing in on that country exclusively, I ran across this video, Frustrated by Al Grease. Now, I have no idea how the algorithm picked up Frustrated, but I began to watch it. And then, in the midst of watching it, it led into, of all places, Brazil. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is kind of getting into the whole fate situation.
Mm-hmm.
So then it led to Charles Tyler, and I would listen to his videos. I mean, all day, man. I spent hours upon hours researching Brazil, online, YouTube, internet, just looking, just trying to get as much information as I could.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, I remember watching one video by Charles Tyler, and he made mention that he had a YouTube group called it was called Black American Men, Foreign Women Would You Date? That's kind of what the name of it was in the beginning, but it kind of morphed into the Black Man's Option. Well, anyway, I sent a request on Facebook to him, and he responded. He accepted my request, I think, within the hour. And so I said, well, I'm going to send him a message and see if he responds. So I sent him a voice message via Messenger. He responded immediately. And so we just kind of made this dialogue over the course of a few days. I told him that I would continue to listen to his videos. He suggested that I, do this, and this. And he said, man, listen, I don't know what you got going on, but we would love to have you and see your face in November, because they had this thing where it was called Beach Week, and it was happening in November. Now, all of this stuff was transpiring around, for me, April, May, and so I had some more, 4 or 5 months to do some additional research. And in the process of doing that, he suggested that I reach out to Brazilian Cupid. And he said, listen, man, I know it's not all about the women. And that's the thing I liked about him. He did talk about the women, but he talked about the culture. And so we went back and forth about that. I went on Brazilian Cupid, which if I don't know anybody, if anybody has, but there's a plethora of beautiful women on Brazilian Cupid. And so I made a connection with someone, and his thing was, look, you just looking for somebody, if it's cool, somebody to show you around. And I mean, of course, as anything else, if it morphs into something organically, then let that be. But other than that, it'd be cool when you have boots on the ground to, have somebody to meet you here, show you around, other than just the guys. And so, uh, started a dialogue with this person, had been speaking with them for the course of 4 or 5 months. And of course, he also connected me with a gentleman by the name of Alan Harper. And once I would stay in contact with him. And in fact, he's the guy that actually met me along with my friend at that time. They were all at the airport, met me in Brazil, picked me up, took me to the Airbnb that I was staying at. And I will tell you this, I felt like I was alone in a good way. And what I mean by that is this: everything that I had researched, everything that I'd heard, everything that I had saw, it paled in comparison to actually being there. I was treated, I mean, well, not just by the people that I had made and created a little, I guess you can say, relationship with, but just the people in general. And of course, I know where I was in Copacabana, it's more of a tourist area, but I would go walking by myself into different places. And it was just, I mean, it was amazing. So much so to where when I left, I literally, and I'm one, and I say this on any platform that I get on, I've cried. Every time that I've gone to Brazil and left, they can call me what they want to, sucker, simp, whatever, I cried. And it wasn't so much because of the people that I left behind, it was the place, the culture, the vibe. Obviously the people had something to do with it, but it was, I like to tell people this: I've been to Africa, and I was always told as an African American, when you go to Africa, there's a sense of connection that you feel, and it's a spark that is kind of like it just wells up within you. I didn't feel that in Africa. No disrespect to Africa. I love the people that I met. We still in contact to this day, but I felt alive in Brazil, and every time I think about it, every time I was there last year, every time we go, it does something to me. Like it doesn't get old, and I'm glad because um, my love and my affinity for Brazil, and if you're listening, hear what I'm saying with mature ears. It had nothing to do with my wife. It had everything to do with the I believe a heart connection. They say that everywhere that there's some place, some country, some place that everyone in the world can feel connected to and feel alive. And for me, that place is Brazil. So yeah, that's kind of my story in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a whole lot of other variables involved in that, but yeah, man, that's pretty much who I am. That's what I'm into, and I am the American Brazilian. I'm an American who loves Brazil and the people and the culture and everything about it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, man. I think people need to hear stuff like that because there's other narratives, as you know, that's always out there. And brother Melvin, can you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and where you came from and things of that nature.
Yeah, brother. I'm Mervin person. I live in a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia, and I've like Larry. I was influenced by Charles Tyler as well, and was a tragic loss to lose him. And Algies, all those guys, just wonderful guys. And I started traveling in 2008. I went to Salvador, Bahia, and Rio. Then I was harshly impacted by the economy crash, being self-employed, and under George Bush, and I end up as a self-employed truck driver. End up switching, going to Dominican Republic, and I end up making that my place, and I enjoyed it. It was just more affordable for me. That I could work in my budget. And eventually in 2013, I met the woman I'm married to now. We got married in 2014. and we've I don't know. She's been here. Well, she's been here long enough to get her citizenship. We have a 5-year-old son, so I'd say yeah, she's been here about in the United States about uh, almost 7 years. So it's been a great experience going foreign. I was divorced from an American woman, and I didn't want to give up on love. I needed to try something different, and I found uh, the right. Well, just getting out of this culture, I ended up finding a woman that was a good fit for me, and I'm very fortunate and very blessed for that. And so it's been it was a journey, and going through the process of getting the wedding and then the visa, and then all the way to her becoming an American citizen. But I certainly I enjoy her country. Her family's to me is like extension of my family. Like I have two families. They are that loving and that kind to me. So it's been a good experience for me.
Okay, splendid. For those people out there, please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. This is Apollo night at the theater on Sunday, and fellas always joke about that because I'm sharing subs with a lot of people. So it probably was good that I wasn't announced, by the way. So I think more people start coming in a little later. Um, now, would you guys consider yourselves global minded or domestic minded? Meaning that, you know, are you fixated on just one particular area, or do you have it where you can just adjust anywhere in the world? Let's go with brother American and Brazilian.
That's actually a great question. Um, Man, you ever heard of introvert and extrovert?
Extrovert. Yes.
Well, there's another one called ambivert, right? That's
Yes.
in the middle. That's both. That's what I am. I'm literally an ambivert. Um, I'm okay around a lot of people, and I'm okay by myself. I think for me to answer your question, um, my fixation is on Brazil, but because I'm a people person, I guess you can say by nature, and have been well traveled. I think I can go anywhere and rub shoulders with anyone in the world. However, if you give me my choice, it's always going to be Brazil. First, second, third, and fourth. It's always going to be Brazil.
I'm supposed to be sharing my stuff, huh? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, y'all. Yeah, because I was my whole issue was I needed because American women, not all, but for the most people, we gotta say not all in these spaces, not all, but American women were encouraged to be feminine warriors. Like you can be the most Hello Kitty-ish type woman, but once they get in these relationships, they try to exert some kind of authority, even though they're supposed to be your woman. And I just got tired of that and I kept trying, and then I was like, okay, well, let me expand with this whole, femininity, because I was still trying to figure out what, how does femininity really works when it's done right. So I did the Japanese route, and then and we're talking about in their cultures, not Japanese Americans. And then I did the Brazilian route, and I couldn't believe, the first time. No, my bad. I did the Brazilian route first, and then I went Japanese, then American, then Brazilian again, because I kept going into these different things, and for those people that have dated Japanese women, as far as the culture itself, I find I my findings that the women there are Hello Kitty feminine. If anybody understands it, they're very childish feminine for the
Yes.
most part, and I was told also that that's the culture, right? I mean, you couldn't tell if you weren't in a relationship with them, but once they get in and they get comfortable, it's like, damn, really? So but the thing was, when I started dating Brazilian, And shout out to Charles Tyler once again. He was the one that really helped out with that. And when I first went out there, that's when I met a woman that had a lot of money, and that's when I knew that they love brothers, right? And so it was amazing because she was one of those professional. People keep thinking that Brazilian women are these dusty foot women that just come from the beach and just have wild hair and feathers and all that.
Yeah.
But you got lawyers out there, doctors. I mean, there's a lot of professional women out there just like they do out here. And so that's when I started really understanding the culture and the similarities that we have here, and find that I didn't have to really explain anything about my blackness because they knew what it was out there. So I mean, after so many times of dating over there, I wind up married just like you guys. So people that's out there listening to us, we are the brothers that have married Brazilian women and brought them back here.
Yes.
I mean, but I go in much deeper later, but yeah, that's my little quick story on that.
Let
Now,
me
go ahead, brother.
let me add something really quick about Charles Tyler. Um, you know, that's one of the many regrets that I think I have, because connecting with him literally gave me a new outlook as far as relationships are concerned. And he literally passed away 2 weeks after I made it back. I think he passed away either late November or early December. I believe it was late November. It was 2 weeks. I know it was 2 weeks. And but he was a trailblazer, and even to this day, there are a lot of people that, as you did, as we have done, that continue, as we all have done rather, put his name out there, because they say that sometimes the person that plants the tree won't enjoy the shade. And that's not ubiquitous, but there are times where a lot of people that were trailblazers didn't necessarily get to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And I think that what he did enjoy and what he did do, prior to his death, I think there was such a mark that has been made that still echoes to this day. Not only with him, but of course, brother Al agrees, he's still doing his thing. Shout out to that brother. And so I just definitely want to just take the time out just to, like you've already done, and like my brother Mervin has already done, just kind of give a shout out to Charles Tyler, R.I.P. Charles Tyler.
Yeah, plus I have to give him credit on how he handled a lot of, because obviously and everybody out there listening out there to chat, we get these big, overly overblown criticism of our how we make our decisions with these, our dating choices and marriage ventures, and the way that Charles handled himself with some of these women, it was very professional. It was very, his channel is still up for people that want to listen, but he had some exchanges, and at the end of the conversation, it was pretty, you know, it was well understood on a lot of things. Al Greasy, hey, that's another story. but but and plus, even if you go now, like every time I go out there to Brazil, Al is right there at BB's on Miguel Limon. He's
Wow.
always there. And then I just sit down and chill with him, like, man, what's going on, blah 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 blah. And he tells me what's going on, and usually I can't go to any events because I mean, I had more words with him after I got married, so I can't be, wherever he is at the women are there, so I can't be hanging him because my wife got relatives all over, and I stand out like a sore thumb sometimes, and just anything. I was like, nah, I'm good, man, but just let me know how I go, brother. But yeah, shout out to those, and John Thompson as well. I'm gonna try to get John to come, but he has something more in mind. but I'm definitely gonna work on John because John is up there in age, so I might have to give him his whole autobiography on my live stream. But good brothers, man, good brothers. Okay, so um, I guess you guys pretty much explained how you learned about going overseas, right? And then also, I believe you highlighted some of your reasons or what have you. But did anyone try to discourage you from going? Let's go with the American Brazilian.
Yeah,
um, no, go ahead. Let Mervin go first. I can go last. Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Mervin.
go ahead, brother Bird.
I, well, yeah, people, some people I knew, particularly women, were against it and tried to say different things to scare you, from anything from, the women wanting green cards to HIV and things like that. But there was nothing that could really stop me. It didn't matter because, the situation in the United States just was not for me. I do want to say this. We've got severe thunderstorms going over. So if I drop off, if my Wi-Fi goes out, that's why if I drop off, it's not me, it's Mother Nature. But
Understood.
beyond that, I really kept it kind of private beyond just a few people. I've had friends, my friends that, my male friends were like, go for it. And of course, in the travels, I made more friends, and friends are, close to me today. So, I would meet people at the airport or in the country and I met some really good people, really good brothers that were living the passport life. So I didn't let that bother me. When I got married, my sister was concerned, and her concern was that what would happen to black women if all black men start doing this. And
Mhm.
I simply told her I don't think that will happen. It'll be a percentage of black men who are going to actually travel and marry foreign women. I don't think that's going to be a thing. But you do have the same option I have of using your passport and going and finding love abroad. So I said, that's been going on for a long time. Stella, they made a movie about it, Stella getting her groove on. So, so the option is there for you as well. But there's nothing like, it's just so good to get out of the United States, be somewhere where I don't know. It's just a different feeling I have when I'm outside of this country. Because when you're here, I think there's a level of stress that you're under, kind of like you're under a microscope. You know how it is. You see a cop pull behind you, and you wonder what's he want. Or even if he doesn't put the lights on, there's a level of stress just being in this country. So it's wonderful going abroad. There's nothing anyone could do to stop me, but I think the guys who do it, they have to be prepared for criticism, and but if you come from a good family, when they meet the woman and see she's genuine and she's wonderful, they're going to come around real fast, And if you don't come from a good family, then you can just, you know,
Dirty Mackin.
yeah, bye bye, yeah,
Yeah, I've seen that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, but I appreciate you, brother. What about? Oh, go ahead. Were you?
No, no, go. Let,
Okay.
let me take over.
Um, for me, mine was interesting. I think because I kind of know the mentality of some people, I was very tight-lipped about what I was going to do in regards to traveling to Brazil. I think only two people knew, and that was my mom and my son, my adult son. Um, so most of the apprehension or the pushback that I received, I got when I got back because it was only when I got back that I started posting videos. So when I started posting videos, people thought I was actually there, but in fact, I was I was back home. Um, and of course, like Mervin, like yourself, I've heard all the stereotypical babblings of they just want a green card, they're all prostitutes, they're all poor, they're easily taken advantage of, none of which are true. you can ascribe those characteristics to people here in America. They're all violent. They all have guns. They just have bad tempers, and they're wanting to shoot people. That's what a lot of people in the rest of the world think about us. And of course, we know that that's not all true. Um, but Another thing too, I was looking at the chat, and this guy Charles Irby, he made a comment about Brazil not necessarily being his thing. He's more attracted to Colombia, Panama, and Costa Rica. And I'm also going to say this again about Charles Tyler. Charles Tyler focused on Brazil, but then his focus was not only Brazil to people who were, his thing was, if you're in the matrix, get out of the matrix. Wherever you go, find somewhere that you connected to and get there. And when you get there, a lot of what you're looking for here that you can't find, or that it seems to be somewhat of a struggle, you'll find it there. And so he was focused on Brazil, but he wanted people to just get out of the matrix. And so it's interesting that Mervin selected the Dominican Republic. We know we have a few brothers over there, one of which is, what's his name? Russell Taylor, Taylor Made Dreams. And, I still follow him. I would follow him back in the day. And of course, I would support what he had going on. It's just that my affinity was to Brazil. But I like the fact that some people will say, you know what? I like Brazil, but this is my thing. I like Colombia, but this is my thing. I like, Dominican Republic, but this is my thing. So I'm just glad to see brothers getting their passports, exercising their options, and going places where they don't have to experience the stressors that we here in America rather experience. I heard Mervin say something else too. I thought was very poignant. When a police officer gets behind you, it's something that's a joke that Rich Pryor used to make all the time. He said he started thinking about stuff he did in the sixth grade. And
Oh God.
sometimes, man, and I tell my wife this. I say, honey, we as Black Americans, we have a different relationship with America than our white counterparts. We don't hate it. We just have a different relationship with it. And so we kind of we have to navigate things that they do not. And so, yeah, when I go there, man, listen, the last thing that I'm thinking about is the police when I go there. It doesn't even, I mean, it's not even on my radar. And so, yeah, Mervin, you're 100% right, man. 100% correct.
Can you guys give me some more examples of when you say I don't want to deal with the stresses and stuff here compared to over there? So what are the stresses that you are experiencing here where you just say, hey man, it's better over there? What things are happening here that make you want to go over there and experience things there?
Um,
Because you mentioned like the
I,
police and everything, but is there
I,
anything else?
yeah, I'll be real brief. I think in regards to, let's just talk about dating because we're talking about relationships. Um, Over there, you don't necessarily have the games and the whole feminazi or feminism mindset and attributes that you have here. For instance, well, I'm not going to text him back. I'm not going to text him, really quick. I'm going to do this to just see if he likes me. I'm going to make him wait on this. I'm going to, see if he'll buy me this. You don't have that. In fact, I'll tell you a brief story. A person I was dating over there when I went in 2017, it was just such a cool situation. I remember saying to myself, I want to do something nice for her. And she had an adult daughter who I love. She was good young lady. I said, I want to take them out and just buy them something just for them hosting me and showing me respect. She wouldn't take a dime from me. We walked around in the mall for 3 hours. And then when I asked her, why didn't you want anything? She said, I have everything I want. I have your respect.
Wow.
And I think for me, again, that was another culture shock because um, uh, over there, there's almost a how can you say it? Not tradition, but um, there's a situation where everybody kind of understands who they are and where they are, And so everybody, and this is sounds a dirty word to everybody knows their roles. You know,
Hmm.
everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, and then everybody respect it. And so feminism with Latino women is a mark of excellency. Yes, you do have people who are unfortunately buying into the spillover of feminism from the West, but it's a small group. So you have a lot of people that are still with the traditional mindset that a lot of we as brothers we can kind of identify with. So I think for me, you know, the stressors of dating, the stressors of the games, um, you know, there is, you know, a little racism, I guess you can say in Brazil, but it's mostly classism. So it depends on what class you are, the certain level of treatment. But I will say this, me as an American, I didn't experience racism or classism. You know, it's just, you know, the American dollar goes far. And I believe this. If you show yourself respectful, you will get respect. If you show yourself friendly, you will get friends. And you will connect yourself with the right people, and you can identify people who you should avoid. So it's just the little stuff. I think the law enforcement thing, I think the dating thing, for me were one amongst the two big ones that I was experiencing at the time. And it's just kind of culture shock anytime you leave and come back and have to contend with those issues. But Brother Mervin, you go ahead and take it, brother.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. The women are really it's different. All you do is be yourself, be respectful. You don't have to wear any bling or pull up in a luxury car. As a matter of fact, you're getting off the airplane. As a matter of fact, you want to dress casual because you don't want to attract too much attention to yourself and make yourself a target. And there's been guys who've gotten jacked up in Colombia this year because they go down there with the United States mindset, and they're trying to floss out there, and you get the wrong people that will have no problem robbing you or hurting you. So, but for the women, they just want to be treated well, and they will treat you well in return, and just they love to make you happy. They'll cook you food, and they invite you to their home and cook you food and watch you eat. And when you let them know you're enjoying it, and they're happy. So it's a great experience. I really I hope the brothers who are listening, anyone that hasn't made it out of the country yet, I hope you do. I hope you go and meet good quality women, and don't go to the red light districts. Go meet good quality women, meet their families, go into their neighborhoods, and get a real taste of whatever country you decide to go to.
Okay. And those people out there, please hit that like button, share, and subscribe if y'all just now coming in. We finally got to the 24 mark. I'm like, wow, that's big for Sunday. But I appreciate you guys coming through. Yeah, I think, the stuff that I tried to get away with, I think it's a combination of both of what you brothers said. Um, because I don't know about you brothers, but I am hella pro black. I love my people. Okay. But some of the BS, I can't deal with that. As I get older, I get less patient now. So I don't make excuses for all the boom creases and shabak packs and the Leroy 2.0 and all that stuff. So I work with that probably because I work with it. I'm a teacher, so I didn't want to come home to it. You know what I mean? I didn't want to have all that. So I wanted a different type of flavor, a different type of frequency or energy or vibe. So, of course, my frat brothers, they were the ones that they were, well, I could say they were doing this stuff way before Charles, but I think Charles was the one that got me back interested again. Because at that time, when Charles was out there saying what he had to say, Charles Tyler, that's when I could afford it. Before then, I couldn't afford it. So that's the thing. I'm like, okay, well, I can afford this now. Because I think back then ticket prices were, I don't know. But then I was like, all right. So that was the thing. That was one of the main reasons. But I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, well, this pro-black thing is probably going to be a new concept. But when I learned about capoeira out there, they just as pro-black as I am over there.
That's
You
true.
know, they. I mean, they have. They. I mean, all you got to do is like, okay. For example, and you guys gonna laugh. You know when you walk or just on the street or whatever, you walk by another brother and your eye contact catches and you get that little head nod like, "What's up?"
Yep,
You telling me you didn't have that experience in Brazil?
I did.
I had it all the time,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it was like okay, and it was weird because I mean every now I do it for everybody, right? But for the brothers, you put a little hand on your chest, two fingers, whatever else. But the white people or whoever else, you give them a little courtesy nod, like I see you, how you doing? And some of them look the other way, right? And I'm like, all right, whatever. Because somebody trying some certain things, whatever. Because let's keep it 100. This whole what's it called, caste system and all this is a global phenomenon. But some people
Hmm.
just don't buy into it, right?
Exactly.
And I noticed because you said you in the military, Mervin, were you in the military?
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay,
an
okay,
independent truck driver.
okay. Well, that we call that the military out here too. I'm joking, but but the thing is, um, the I walk around. I'm not from the military, but people say I walk around like I've been in the military. With my shoulders back, chest out, standing upright, eye contacts. That checking out the scene and things like that. Having this whole security-minded stance, and for some reason, people look at me like, is he a celebrity or whatever he is? And I'm like, no, I'm just a regular American. I'm just a regular person. And the fact that once they find out your profession, then they just like, oh wow, and then they can see what I can do. Wow. And I'm not sure if it's because they get excited because of a black man doing art or whatever, right? But going into the vibe, I'm quite sure you guys learned the language. Can you guys get into how learning the language, help you navigate around Brazil? Let's go with American Brazilian.
Well, for me, I was responding to somebody, Lou. For me, learning the language has been so interesting because of the masculine and feminine pronouns. I will say this: last year, I went and a lot of things like ordering food and having a conversation with my relatives. Obviously, there are things that I miss, but I can pick up on a whole lot of stuff and I can literally have a conversation. But I like to say this every day I am learning even more. I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday. We went to a friend of ours, the Brazilian community, her birthday party. So there was a guy that was there. He was from Rio de Janeiro, and he was a scientist. His wife was a professor,
Mm.
and they came over here. He has I guess, a job at Purdue University, and she's going with him. And we had a conversation, and he said, the interesting thing that a lot of people don't realize is you have to just start talking, even if you um, mess up. You have to be brave enough to start talking. And my mother-in-law, Minya Soguro, my mother-in-law told me the same thing. She said, just start talking. And another thing is listening to a lot of different programs in that dialect, because I found too that it's one thing to be able to speak; it's a whole nother thing to be able to understand and comprehend when other people are speaking. Because people, just as in America, they have different dialects, they have different slangs, and so yeah. But to answer your question, yeah, man, it's one of those things where it's I dare say chore, because I like it, but it's a daily thing to where you continue to enhance your vocabulary. Let me say this also really quick. Um, somebody, I know you had mentioned Art about the amount of black people in Brazil. Well,
Hmm.
I'll give you the numbers, and I've shared this at nauseum on my channel.
Hmm.
There are 46.8 million black people in America.
Right.
There are 109.1 million black people in Brazil. So it's more than double. Um, my friend Lais, who's a lawyer, she might be listening. Lais, if you're listening, say something in the chat because she was experiencing a whole lot of trouble on her connection side. But
I sent her the link.
she okay, yeah, good. She the city that she lives in, Salvador, is one of the most heavily populated black cities in Brazil, and so I know she could definitely speak on that. But yeah, there's black people everywhere. There's more black like there's double than what it is here. But yeah, the language barrier, it's only as difficult as you allow it to be. And when I say allow, your ability to not to practice, your ability to learn. If you stay at it, then you'll get better and better and better. And you can't feel bad about it because you're not from that culture. If you're in that culture because of marriage or because of dating, now you're always going to be graded on a curve. So it makes the learning aspect that much more fun and relaxed. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Brother Mel? Did it
Yeah,
help?
yeah, it's tough for me. I'm not gonna lie. It's been hard for me, and I would say that for the guys who are maybe listening that don't think they can do it, technology is helpful. They do have voice translators where you can speak into it English and it'll speak it out Portuguese or Spanish, whatever you want, and she can speak back to you in her language and come back through to you in English. So the technology's made it easier. If you go and you're with a woman, and you have a woman, one woman that you're serious about, then the two of you will learn. Even she'll learn you, and you'll learn. Like if you're messing up, she'll still be able to comprehend what you're saying. Whereas if you're going from person to person, different people, they won't understand. But someone who knows you closely, intimately, they'll understand, and eventually you'll be able to get along without a translator. That's the story it's been with me and my wife. It just took some time, and of course she was coming to this country, so she went to school to learn English, and that just made everything great. If you're moving to Brazil, then yeah, you really have to focus on learning it. And I agree with what Larry said. Just speak it, even if it's not right.
Okay.
Keep speaking, but just put in the time. As much time as you can studying. And they've got some teachers on YouTube now that you can follow and just try to get better.
Okay. Appreciate it. Give a shout out to people in the chat. We got AL Evans, She We Here. We got American Brazilians in the chat. Sam I Am, haven't seen you, buddy. We got Lou, haven't seen you before, but welcome, Lou. We got Charles Irby. We got Ray Hammer. We got I'm Listening. We got Mulatto Vanguard. Who else? Okay. So I appreciate you guys. Please share and subscribe. It seemed like it's against people's religious belief to share my Sunday live streams, y'all. But it's all good. But either way, I'm gonna make my Sundays what it's supposed to be, y'all. Either way. But I guess me, as far as the language, I throw my name in the hat. Uh, the first two Brazilian women that I was dating, they spoke English already, so they kind of like made me a little lazy. Every now and then, I heard a word or two. I'm like, "What's this mean? What does that mean?" Uh, the first woman that I dated, that was the Brazilian woman. There was a guy in a store uh, that was translating for me. And I turned around and she had the biggest frown on her face. I'm like, what's wrong? She said, I'm supposed to translate for you. So that was my clue. As you know, I didn't marry her, but but I learned. I've learned through what Rosetta Stone, uh, CDs from my friends, and books. The book that was real good. Do I have it with me? I sure do. Let me show you guys. Uh, this book right here really helped me out. Did you guys get this book? It's called Say It Right in Brazilian Portuguese. And what it does, it spells it wrong so you can pronounce it right.
Oh,
So
okay.
it really helped me out, man. It got me through a lot of stuff, man. So you can read that in the airport. And sometimes you can pull it out your pocket and talk to people, right? Because let's keep it real. Sometimes internet don't work out there. Shout out to your friend.
Like you said.
So that really helped out. Let me put it out there again for those who's trying to check it out here. It's called Say It Right in Brazilian Portuguese, and it's has that in there. It really helps, and it's cheap. This book is cheap. You could probably get it for definitely probably less than $10 used. But I bought
Mhm.
this at Barnes and Nobles. Uh, yeah, so that really helped me. And then what I had to do, I got a teaching gig out there. So I had to translate my book. I did a book on how to draw, but I had to do it in Portuguese because not too many people understood English over there, even the professionals. So I had a lot of professionals that were, you know, what do you call it? I had a lot of professionals that didn't know English, but they still wanted to learn how to draw. So when it wind up drawing and stuff like that, I mean, they were drawing, but I was able to read my translation in my book to teach them. So, and my wife worked in that building, and that's how we hooked up in there. And then she was helping me with my Portuguese. So all of a sudden, she became my somewhat of my. She didn't know English, but she understood what I tried to say, which was weird. It's like, wait a minute, how you don't know English, but you can complete my Portuguese? So it kind of, that connection really started getting more stronger and stronger, y'all. But long story short, is that all I did was did Rosetta Stone 30 minutes a night, and every now and then look at the books on how to do your conjugations, like I, me, them, him, her, us, we. So I started learning that and started plugging it in vocabulary. So they got me a lot of places. So, but we get into that more. Um, and again, you guys, please hit that like button. I'm gonna keep saying it until we get to a certain number. And share the live stream. All right. So the question is, what were there any difficulties to adjust to the culture?
Hmm. Um, for me, not really, and I'll tell you why. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'll tell you why. If you guys hear a baby screaming in the background, that's our little son. I'm upstairs, they're downstairs, but he has a very his voice travels. I'll say that he's literally a Brazilian. um, for me, um, I think falling in love with the culture 2 years before I met my wife, learning about it, it was a lot easier for me to adapt. I think I was more like a kid in a candy store. Many people may not know this, and maybe it was serendipity or whatever, fate, call it what you want. But I literally, I had a couple of friends in the Brazilian community that was here. And I met my wife, she was here. And I met, it's so funny, I went to Brazil only to come back and meet a Brazilian in America. And the thing that about my wife was that she did and still does today is just exclusively in the Brazilian community. So all of her friends, everything that she does, it's centered around the Brazilian community. So of course, there were some things that I thought I knew a lot, but what I knew paled in comparison to what she's been teaching. One thing that she taught me that I always think is crazy, she said, I know you guys talk about being late. She said, but Brazilian time is a whole different late. She said, our parties start, but they have no ending. And she's correct. Just different things, we're used to a little degree of structure here in America. There, things have a start time and they have an ending time. They have different foods that we've never heard of. We've seen, but we've never seen them mixed or prepared a certain way. And so, and just how they do things. I mean, they're very traditional in their interactions. They're very the personal space aspect is not necessarily a thing. So in other words, when you yeah, you're right, Sam. Tons of Brazilians here in the city that we're in. Um, when you meet someone, they now this was one thing that I had to I'm glad that I figured out early on, but then I had to relearn it again, and that was this: when you meet a Brazilian woman, if you're a man, the way they respond to you, the way they touch you when you hug them, you might think, oh man, is she trying to holler at me? But in fact, they're just doing what they do in their culture. They're very friendly.
Yeah,
They
kiss
have
on the
no
cheek.
exactly, no real concept of personal space. When the women leave you, they'll say beijos. When the guys leave you, they'll say abraços, which is hugs. Beijos is kisses. Um, and a lot of time they say "estamos juntos," we're together. They're very family oriented, and that's, well, let me say this. That's another thing, because here, we say family first, and I'm sure Mervin can say that about Dominicans. Um, their family first is like, on a scale of 1 to 10, family is like the first eight. You know what I'm saying? It's like family. Everything centers around family. So yeah, man, those things were things that I had to kind of learn and kind of embrace, because it was a little bit of culture shock. Because I even have friends saying, man, I went to such and such and I thought this Brazilian girl liked me. I said, well, what did she do? Oh, she hugged me, she kissed me on the cheek or whatever. I said, brother, don't, you're gonna get embarrassed, because you might think that she liked you. If she likes you, you'll know, because they're very direct in a sense of, if they like you, they'll let you know. But I don't want to ramble. But yeah, that's, if any culture shock, that those were the little culture shocks that I had. But everything else, I was pretty much, again, like a kid in a candy store. I embraced everything that they had to offer.
Okay, Brother Merv.
Yeah, it was similar for me. The families are very tight. I know my wife's family is very, very tight. So there's no daycare or anything, and they just have a culture where the parents take care of you as a child, and it's your job to take care of them when they're elderly. So when my wife came here, my father is 93 years old now, but when she came here, my stepmother her health was failing, and we were in Pennsylvania, and my stepmother looked to me and my wife and said, he can't stay here by himself when I'm gone. And she said, well, that's no problem. He can come to Georgia and I'll take care of you. And I didn't expect it, but I knew that their culture was like that, but I still didn't expect that from her. And she was dead serious. She was, yeah, sure, it's no problem. We have room. You come here and I'll take care of you. And that closeness of the family, where there's not a daycare. Someone has a child, the child will be uh, dropped off to someone, whether it's a aunt, a cousin, whatever, but the child's not going to just be left in a stranger's house or in a daycare center. So they work together very closely as family, and they have each other's back, which is really nice. I really enjoy that part of the culture. And of course, I like, when it comes to food and stuff, I like trying different things. So it hasn't been a problem for me. Matter of fact, I love it when I can get over there, and the pandemic kind of slowed things down a lot. But I I can't wait to get back over. But it's been a good experience.
Okay. And shout out to Clarendon3500. I got your email, man. That was a lot of stuff for me to cover, by the way, so I didn't ignore you, brother. You have to give me something shorter next time, Clarendon. Um, and let's see. How about this one right here? Um, so we already talked about other cultures, I believe, but what were the myths and misconceptions about travel? Some other stuff.
Mm. That everybody want to rob you. Everybody's poor. If you go somewhere by yourself, you'll end up getting drugged. People, they want to pretend to be your friend only to try to set you up. Things like that. Now, I'm not going to say that none of those things have ever happened to anybody. I mean, we see it ad nauseum on various groups. But I will say this: I think for many people, I'm not victim blaming when I say what I'm about to say, but I think for many people who have experienced those things that I've mentioned, they put themselves in those situations. I think something Brother Mervin had mentioned earlier. You don't go in places flashing money and wearing all types of jewelry. You don't want to make yourself a target. The best thing that you can do um, going anywhere is blend in. And the greatest compliment that you can give any Latino is to attempt to blend in with their culture and speak their language. And a lot of times in doing that, you lessen, um, the whole making yourself a target thing. And another thing too, I think being in certain areas, it shouldn't be a situation. I don't know if you guys understand. I don't know. There are certain places that you shouldn't want to go, and even if you go in those certain areas, certain things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to do by permission. What I mean by that, you're going to have to be invited in certain areas because just like in America, there are certain places in my own city. If I'm not invited, I will not go. Certain projects, certain housing communities, I will not go because they're conducting their business. And I don't want to be just this onlooker like a tourist, seeing people engage in certain activities for the sake of saying I saw it. I mean, making myself a target, that's not smart. And I've never had any desire to see people who are experiencing a degree of abject poverty, indigence, or whatever you want to call it. And you do have a portion of that there, as you do here. Brother Sam, I am that's in the chat, he had mentioned about the favelas. And everybody in the favelas, there are some good people, and there are a lot of good people in the favelas. Another myth, and I'll just talk about Brazil specifically, is this. A lot of people say, well, excuse me, the favelas they're very dangerous or whatever. You will be safer in the favelas than you will be in Copacabana. What do I mean by that? In the favelas, in order for people to see, how can I say this? Okay, so in the favelas, they don't like the police presence and anything that will bring the police or bring a certain amount of activity that would hinder what they're doing, they don't like that. You can't do that. They don't allow stealing and all of that stuff. So there's a degree of protection that you have outside of the purview of the police when you're there. Um, and the fact that all women are prostitutes, come on, that's a myth. That's like saying every American is a terrorist. We know that that's not true. So you have a lot of people, and I keep calling her name Lais, who are very astute. They're very learned. They are professionals. They utilize their educational system where they are. My wife is one of them. My wife had her degree before we met. Went to a private college, went to a private school. Family did very well, and still does. So, the myths that people have are just quite frankly not true. I remember when I went to Africa and I asked them their perception of black people, and he told me what it was, and I was like, wow. And I said, well, where did you get that? And he told me the TV show that they import from America, one that's their favorite TV show, or it was at that time, and that was Cops. And so I said, well, you guys get your perception of black men from Cops? They say, yeah. And how disappointing is that, to know that a lot of black Americans, or some, that there are some people in some countries that will perceive us based on a TV show. So so the perceptions, they're so unfair. I think a lot of times, again, people have to put themselves in position to be taken advantage of, or put yourself in a position to where you can be drugged or robbed. If you're, and I'm not, you know, uh, how can you say, I'm not against anybody who's into the pay for play. It's not my thing. I'm with Brother Mervin. You find somebody nice, you meet them, you meet their families, and then you go from there. If everything works out, great. If it doesn't, you move to the next. But the whole pay for play thing, that's not my thing, man. And when you put yourself in those positions, now you open up yourself to a whole litany of possible bad things that can happen to you. So that's kind of my take on that, Brother Murphy. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. It, you just have to blend in and be yourself, and I don't know. I haven't had a problem. I do know things do happen. I do know in my wife's country, sometimes the police will shake you down. That's never happened to me. I did get stopped one time leaving the airport, coming in on a late flight, and stopped by the cops. And they want to look at our suitcases, and so it didn't happen, but they wanted to, and I know they were trying to just get to you, but I've not had any real problems.
So what are the myths? So what are the myths and misconceptions they're having about traveling, at least Brazil or overseas? Brother Marvin.
Yeah, well, yeah, that it's unsafe, that like you said, the women are not as good as American women. And but the stuff is all garbage. You just have to fly, go over and see for yourself. The you'll find that the people are very friendly to begin with, and welcoming you, and they want you to be there, which is one of the things that's so nice, as opposed to America, where in America sometimes you feel like you're tolerated but not necessarily wanted. They welcome you. They want you to come to their country. So I really don't have. I just don't listen to the naysayers, because they're probably people that they are people who don't travel and don't want you to. And for the people who want to get out, just do it. There's all these. You have these podcasts. You have groups of guys who travel. Get out there and see it for yourself. And you also have these sites like Brazilian Cupid and everything, where you can meet women and start forming a relationship before you leave. So so you're not meeting someone cold turkey. You've been talking. So just take advantage of that technology that's out there, and go do it.
Okay. For those out there, please hit that like button, share, subscribe, because we're going to get real deep. I was really hoping that Lais show up, because we're going to be getting into the marriage part. Uh, that's going to be very important, because this is the part that we don't really discuss enough. Um, but I'm pretty much in alignment with what you brothers are saying. My mother was always looking specifically online just to give me something to be scared about. I heard about this in Brazil. This happened in Brazil, whatever. I'm like, where? This happened. She said, recipe. Oh, okay. I'm going to Rio. So I always found ways to go around this stuff. And and again, it's usually women. Women that I love, that's in my circle, that's usually trying to discourage me. And I'm like, man, you got to go there. Brothers, for the most part, I didn't get too many of the haters from the brothers. I hear a lot of hate online, but brothers, no, or men in general, nah. But here the question also would be, I mean, you guys already covered that. Is the marriage process difficult?
I think there are so many different perspectives and different avenues. And I'll try not to be super technical. To answer your question, it's as difficult as you want it to be, and that sounds a little bit um, ambiguous. And what I mean by that is this: for me, I went through. I went through a not an attorney, but I went through like a paralegal. And the reason why I did that, although my wife was here, we still had to go through the process of, I mean, we could get married, but we still had to go through the naturalization process, getting her green card, getting her right to work, her right to travel. You even need that in order to be insured. So for me, it was, I know it was, somebody who was a little bit more meticulous in 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 their work than I was, because I know I would have messed up something. And I say that, and I did that, and I paid for that because I have heard stories of where people failed to fill out a question in the questionnaire or in the information packet, and they were denied. And so I did not want to take that chance. Now there are other people; they've done it themselves. Excuse me, and it worked perfectly for them. Um, so the technical aspects are these. So there are a few different ways that you can get married. You don't have to. You can marry somebody who's here illegally on a B1, which is a work visa, on a travel visa, or on the various other types of visas, because we hear K1 and CR1, but then there are a whole host of other visas whereby somebody can legally come into this country. Once they're here, even if they stay a little bit longer than intended, you can still get married and go through the naturalization process. They're not going to penalize you for that. My wife and I, because she was already here, we went through the CR1. The K1 is a fiance visa. The CR1 is a marriage visa. Now, um, I remember when I was engaged, well, when I was talking to my girlfriend that I dated 2 years before I met my wife, when I went to Rio the first time, we considered her coming over here, but it would have been on a K1 visa. One of the reasons why we just kind of stopped short and just kind of like debunked everything is because of her daughter. Again, I loved her daughter. She was an adult daughter, but I didn't want to bring her over here and then have her daughter left there. I knew it was going to bring problems. So I didn't want to set myself up to deal with any issues with her being over here, especially in the beginning. But with my wife already being here, not being, not having any children and everything like that, we went through the process of, after we got married, we went through the process of acquiring a paralegal. She did the work. And in that process, I think I had all of the names. We had, within that CR1 is a I-130, a I-485, an I-693, an I-864, an I-765, which is employment, and another, which is important one, is the I-131. And I-131, it gives people the ability to travel back and forth between their home country or any other country and come back to America without any issues. Some people, when they do that, you have to kind of, like, you can do it ad nauseum, right? But sometimes, depending on how long you stay, some border agents can kind of start feeling themselves because they have a degree of autonomy. They can say, okay, well, man, you've been outside of the country for 2 years, or a year and a half, like if you plan on, being an American, you have to do this and do that. They're not going to penalize you, but sometimes they'll kind of admonish you a little bit. And not all the time, it just depends on who it is. Like I say, they have a certain degree of autonomy. But for the most part, once you get that I-131, that travel, you're good to go. You can go back and forth. But all of those numbers that I've mentioned, they have specific. So all of those are forms. All of those are different documents. And so imagine doing all of that paperwork yourself and not messing up on anything. It's possible. I just didn't want to take that chance. So for me, that's kind of where the whole technical stuff came in at. And it was easier for me just to pay because I know if I pay somebody, there's somebody else that I can hold accountable, who I, can consider somewhat of a professional and say, okay, well, now, if that's wrong, then you need to take care of that. Also, I'll say this and I'll give it to Brother Mervin. They have other services like Rapid Visa. Rapid Visa is another service that is comprised of some paralegals, some people who are not paralegals, and I think they have lawyers on staff, and they're very meticulous. But again, it's a paid service. And my thing is, if you are not a meticulous person, a person that pays attention to detail ad nauseum, then it may be easier to have somebody who you can hold accountable and hold their feet to the fire if something is not done. But for the most part, people who do those services, they're very meticulous. I know I say that word a lot, but you got to have that when filling out these forms. Um, and they'll make sure that before they submit anything to USCIS, that those that you have everything within those packets because they don't like bad reviews, and they get bad reviews if they fail to do something which might prolong and in some cases cause some people's visas to be denied. So that's my take.
Brother Merv?
Yeah, yeah. It's quite the process. I hired an attorney because I was afraid of making a mistake as well, and it was a couple $1,000s a man out of San Diego, California, and I still filled out forms and sent it to them, sent them documents, and they went over everything. I guess made any corrections and what I wanted with my
That was cheap.
lifestyle.
That was very cheap. That was only $2,000.
Yeah, Lawrence Summers. Yeah, I have his. I can pull up his email, and he had a paralegal named Caroline or Carolina who worked with me. Yeah, it was a good price, I think. But I do have friends who did it all on their own. For me, the only mix up we had was the birth certificate of my wife's getting lost. Then she had to get another one. We send it in, and they said they didn't receive it. And I thought maybe I had some angry woman who didn't like the fact that I was marrying a foreign woman. So what I learned was on the third attempt to send it certified with a signature. Then, of course, they got it then. So that held us up to where it took a year for us to complete our visa. So I was frustrated because I got the attorney and still had a problem. But I know a guy who used Rapid Visa. I know one guy who did it by himself, and he put DR instead of writing out Dominican Republic, and they rejected it just for him putting, I think he put Santiago DR instead of writing out Santiago Dominican Republic. So they can be very, very picky. But the process, other than that, went well. I mean, the woman has to get police report. She has to have a clean record, or she won't get it. And I think the thing that makes it kind of nerve wracking is that at the very end, you have an interview at the U.S. consulate office, and they ask you questions, and you can go through the whole process and then be denied at that interview. Now we didn't see that, but a friend of mine went through it. He said he saw people crying, walking away crying because they were rejected. I don't know what they did wrong, but the woman has to know your information, where you live, where you work, the name of your family members, uh, what you do for a living. They have to show that that's a sincere relationship is what they're looking to see. And of course, you need to have any documents you would have to support that. Rather, it would be airline tickets, photos of you and her together at different times, different places. Uh, but I think that makes it, and of course, the woman has to go through a physical and maybe get shots, most likely get shot injections. But the physical is another thing where they're looking for tuberculosis or anything like that, anything that would rule you, would be a problem. But we went through it really. Other than the birth certificate, there was no problem. I understand now it took us a year, but I had two friends that brought women over, and it took them 2 years because
Two
Trump
years.
took them 2 years because Trump did something that slowed things down, and on top of that, COVID. So both of those guys were looking at 2 years, and that's really a long time. It's really
Yes.
frustrating, but you just have to really what I did was every email, every letter or email I got from the USCIS, I sent it to my wife. So she was on board with, she knew everything about what was going on. And you just have to really have patience because you're dealing with the government. And I told my wife this is not a private enterprise. A private enterprise would kick that thing out in a month or 6 weeks. But this is US government. They're going to take their good old time because the government workers, it's not, there's no production isn't really big on their list, but it's what you have to do. And but don't be intimidated by it. That's why I want people to know you can fill out the forms yourself. If you have confidence that you can do it. You can use something like Rapid Visa. That is not a lot of money to use their service, and but at the end of the day you can get through this and get your it's a great feeling when you get to the airport and meet your wife and she's stepping off that airplane. It's a great feeling, and just just go do it. Don't worry about it, just do it and you'll get through it. And of course when you meet a woman and you're liking her, you need to ask the question about her police record. Have you been in trouble? And don't you know don't even waste your money if she's been in trouble, or you better talk to an attorney before you even start the process and see if you can get through. But from what I understand, that's a big no. So it's very doable. Just if you got someone you love, why not bring her here and have someone to come home to, instead of someone you have to travel to see, and you have limited vacation time and stuff like that. So I tell the guys to do it, and then enjoy the process of her getting acclimated to the United States.
Did you guys get married out there or over here? Let's go with
Um,
I got married in her
I got
country.
Oh, okay. I got married over here because my wife was already over here. Um, Something else I'd like to just kind of briefly touch on that Brother Mervin said, which is so poignant, and that's this. In the interview, there have been people that unfortunately have been denied. Interestingly enough, we got married in 2000. We got married in 19. We started our process in 19. Let me see. We got married in 2020, and we started our process like immediately after we got married because I was like, well, let's just kind of go ahead and get through this because it's going to be time consuming. COVID had hit, and then of course everything kind of like stalled. Well, it took about a year, same thing for me, for us to have our interview. And when we did, I will say this, um, it was such ease. And I realized something that every person every interviewer, they interview according to their personality, what they have going on, and how they feel. And some people, they want to ask you a whole bunch of questions, Do you know this person? Do you know that? Listen, I don't think that we got one question about her relatives, my relatives. She just looked at all the paperwork, looked at us. We talked about, small talk, this, that, and the other, and we were out of there, man, in 10 minutes.
So both of y'all were part of the interview process?
Yes, both of us here, we were both a part of the interviews. But again, my interview was a CR1. I don't know if Brother Mervin's was a CR1 or K1. I know for me it was a CR1. So because both of us were here, both of us went to the interview, and it
Yeah,
and
mine.
it was
Mhm.
very easy.
Yeah, mine was a K1, and with the K1, the male, you do not have to be there, but I would strongly advise you to be there because, depending what country you're from, you don't want your wife to go in there by herself and maybe not be treated well. And if something would go wrong, you want to be there so you know firsthand what happened, you know. So I would advise it. But I know some guys that the woman's all the way over in the Philippines or something, and they don't, or Africa, and they can't do it. So the woman has to go in by herself and do the interview. But I certainly went to mine. I want to be there because that was a final step, and I want to make sure that I was there and make sure I was there to really support her because they're going to ask her a lot of questions, because she's the one coming to the United States.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I was told by a lawyer and a guy that went through it is to get married out there in Brazil first and get to do the I-130, I believe it's called, and the
Mm-hmm.
138. And I was told the reason being is because you have a more chance for them not to turn you down because you're already married. She happened to be married to a U.S. citizen. For the most part, you would get the glitches, and like Mervin said, if there's some kind of police record or some kind of discrepancy. But for the most part, um, I was discouraged from getting the fiance visa. So shout out to Merv for working for you. But I was told that the fiance visa is often not honored because there's lots of case scenarios where it just didn't work out and they just don't come back to their country. So I just went on and did it the other way. But what makes more sense is the fiance visa because at least if it don't work out, you can just send it back to the store. So to speak, it makes it makes sense with a fiance visa. If I was to choose, I would have done the fiance visa.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another thing too that Brother Mervin talked about. I think I had mentioned. We both had mentioned Rapid Visa. What makes Rapid Visa and services like them so attractive is this: you pay as you go, so you don't necessarily have to spend the $2,000 or $3,000 in one lump sum. Even some attorneys you can kind of pay as you go, and that makes kind of services like that, and then they keep you abreast as to what's going on. With us, I think we heard from our paralegal maybe once or twice. But then once we submitted all the information, it was, done everything. We just kind of played the waiting game. But services like that, excuse me, are more attractive financially.
hmm. And going back to Merv, you mentioned that the attorney's fees were two grand. What did that include the fee for the processing fee for the visa and then the medical and all that stuff as well?
Oh, no, no, no. That was just the attorney's fee. No, all that was additional.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So now um, now based on our experience and the things that you've seen with other people, um, do you I mean do you do you recommend moving there overseas if you hook up or get married there, or is it better to bring them here to the states?
Hmm. I think it's relative. And I say it that way because, being in this country, and again, I go back to what, shout out to Brother Merv. He made some very good points. The stressors that we deal with here, you don't necessarily deal with over there. Now, the arbitrage rate or the rate of exchange works in our favor with both of the countries that we've mentioned, in that our dollars are, it far surpasses the amount of their dollars. Um, Another myth, I guess you can say, is that everybody who is in those countries are rushing to get to America. In fact, most of the people in Brazil, the women, they want to see if you want to come over there with them, because again, family is preeminent over there. They don't necessarily, I mean, obviously stability is important, but family is preeminent. That trumps all. Um, I think that if you are a person that can work remotely, or if you have a job that you can get the American dollar while being over there, I think that's the best of both worlds. I had a conversation with my father-in-law last year, and he told me this. He said, "Son, if you can put $283,053, something like that. Let's just round it off to an even number, 284,000 in a Brazilian bank account. You will get 15,000 reais a month. Now, 15,000 reais a month is about 3,000 US. So for one American dollar, it's about five, almost five, a little bit over five um, reais, right? So now to live comfortably, really, really good in Brazil, $2,000 is great. You can live really good. If you have $3,000, you're living you're like in the very upper middle class, almost like rich. You're rich. And so a lot of people in those countries, they want to see, hey, would you consider coming over here? Now, there are people that say, you know what, I'm going to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to just move over there. I want more of a simpler life. I don't necessarily want to bring a person over here and both of us have to kind of get into the hustle and bustle and the rat race, because even if you win, you're still a rat, that whole thing. And we're going to go over there and we're just going to live our life. We're going to, enjoy each other, and we're just going to experience happiness. Some people can do that. I think for Americans, it's a little bit it's not impossible. It's a little bit difficult because there are just certain things that we are used to. Not that you miss anything while you're there. It's just we have this capitalist mindset, as Americans, meaning that, we don't mind going out. We want to make money. That's our thing because we want to try to have a certain lifestyle, this American dream type thing, which I heard a story about the American dream. They say it exists. You just have to be asleep to believe it. But I think the new American dream is leading. I think that's a part of the new American dream. I know that's a part of mine. But to answer your question, man, I think a lot of people, when you go over there, I think you kind of, if you really, really have an affinity for that country, I think you kind of try to rationalize or figure out a way that you can not only stay, but thrive and experience all the beauty and the goodness of the culture and the people that country has to offer. So everybody's not fighting to get over here. In fact, a lot of people want to stay over there, and a lot of us who go over there are trying to figure out ways to stay over there and thrive as well. So that's my take.
Okay. So, do you recommend moving over? I mean, moving overseas after you get married to these women, or do you recommend, or is it okay to bring them here?
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead, Murph. Go ahead, Murph.
Well, I think you have to do is just do your own soul searching and figure out what works for you. For me, my career wouldn't transfer. They wouldn't need me to drive a truck in Dominican Republic or Brazil or anywhere. So if you work remotely, that's great. That would be the dream. Or if you're retired, I would certainly love to move. But if you're a working man and you need to work and you don't have the skills or whatever to move abroad, then from the very get go, when you start talking to women, you need to find women who are willing to come to relocate. There's no sense in talking to a woman that is unwilling to leave country. And but love is a full thing. And I remember my grandmother was from Alabama, and she moved to Pennsylvania, and I asked, well, what brought you to Pennsylvania? She said, following a man in a uniform. Her husband was in the military, so she followed him. So what I'm saying is, a woman will for the opportunity for love and to be treated well will follow you. Some women will, and if and you have to look for that, then which is what I had to look for. But yes, everyone doesn't want to come to America. That is a big lie they talk about. But for the most part, uh, uh, people don't want to come to America. They want to stay in their own country and their own people. So you have to find a woman, and then you want to make sure you're living in a way where she can get back and see her family. You don't want your money to be so tight that she's going years without seeing her family. That's not cool. So you have to think about that when you decide to pick a woman. Pick a woman from a place, and a woman that maybe has some skills where she can come here and get a job and help you if you need that. But you have to be honest with yourself. Can I move abroad right now? If you cannot, then you have to find a woman that will come here.
Okay.
Definitely, definitely.
You want to add on to something, brother American Brazilian?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with everything Merv said. I think if you don't have skills that are transferable, then it's probably not rational to do so. Um, but I will say this to add on to what he said about everybody's not breaking their neck trying to get over here. I remember seeing a news article, and they interviewed some people from the favelas. I think it was Rocinha and in Rio de Janeiro, and they were asking this one lady about possibly relocating. Would you want to come to America because of the opportunities? And she said no. And the guy asked her. He said, "Why not?" She said, "Well, because here I don't have to be concerned about sending my children to school and somebody shooting up a school or walking into a mall and some deranged person just comes in and begins shooting for no apparent reason." So
Mm.
she said, "Yeah, people might think that we lack a certain thing." She said, "But it's not necessarily true." And she said, "Not to mention, we do have the consistency and assurance that we don't have mass shootings like they do in that country. So no, I have no desire to go." And you realize when I read that and saw that interview, I realized something I said earlier. To the degree that we perceive and hear things about other countries that are, they may be true, but they're disparaging, they hear and see about us. And so they have a perception of us as well. Not that I hate or dislike, the country that I'm from. That's not my point. My point is, um, not everybody is wanting to come here, and they have valid reasons as well. Things that make sense, things that we even understand because we live here. Um, but yeah, I thought about it. The type of work that I do, I can do anywhere in the world. I went to, I got my, went to school and got me some education after, like later in life, and I could probably put that to use. But I don't know, man. As an entrepreneur, I'm not opposed to working for anyone. I just feel like I exist better in uncertainty. I don't mind being able to do certain things on my own. And so if I had to, I'm sure I can go over there and do quite well. Another cool thing about being an American in foreign countries is they like the American culture. So, for instance, if I want to go open up a barber shop in Brazil and I call it the American Brazilian, I would be busy a lot because people, if they know that I'm an American, that's 75% advantage that I have. The problem with that is you have to kind of pay homage to the other people that are there because sometimes people feel a certain type of way and you might be taking something, or they feel that you might be taking something out of their mouth. Not everybody, but as an American, we do have an advantage because people, for some reason, they just like are enamored with who we are, our culture. And so, especially, and I say this, and sometimes people like really, as a Black American, when we go into these places, people really love us. Like they don't really look at us. I mean, barring people who look at certain programs and kind of get these perceptions, which is very, very minimal. But for the most part, when you go in some countries, man, people kind of they kind of dig us brothers, man. We don't really have a whole lot of issues like some people. And so yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to add.
So people out there, please hit that like button, share, subscribe. People that are coming in, um, like remember Eddie Murphy when he did this thing about this African woman riding a zebra, some African bush woman riding a zebra.
Babushka.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And she told, and she was hanging around some women or whatever, and they told her in so many words, you don't have to do A, B, and C, and at the end take half. Um, are those like valid concerns when you bring a woman over here from overseas? That's good.
Well, I think
Mervin.
it's a bigger concern if you marry an American woman. I read somewhere that the divorce rate of with foreign women is at 20%, as opposed to 50% or over 50% of marriages and with American women, and American women file over 80% of the divorces. So the risk is higher, I would say, and you know that some of the men who go get foreign women have problems, and I had a personal experience with that with a guy I know who was alcoholic and end up losing his job, and things went bad with his marriage, but it wasn't the woman's fault. It was that he had a problem that he should have dealt with before he went and married a foreign woman. So I mean there is a risk, and this is what a lot of guys tell me, that man, I no way I'm bringing a woman here and I'm going to lose everything, or she just come here and marry me and leave, and I have to pay alimony and all this. Well, I just tell them, hey, everything in life's a risk. If you dwell in the negativity, if constantly thinking about the downside as if there's no positive side, well, that's probably where you would end up if you did bring a woman here, because you probably wouldn't be too much fun and she probably wouldn't be that comfortable with you. But there's a positive side to this, and life is a risk. Every time you jump in your car, you're risking your life. So you need to not be so afraid, but do your due diligence. Vet the woman. Don't rush into marriage. Get to know her, her family, her values, and if the woman comes and she's not happy, then you have to send her back home. And you might have to have a long distance marriage, or you have to get a divorce. But I think for the most part, if you take your time and that woman loves you and she comes here and you're good to her, I don't I know I wasn't worried about that. I'm not worried about that with my wife at all.
Okay, for the American Brazilian.
I've heard that ad nauseum. Excuse me, people saying, "Oh man, if you bring people over here, they're going to change." I think I have so much to say on this, but I'll be as laconic as possible. Um, I think a lot of times we do our potential mates a disservice in that we try to connect them with people who we think would be good for them to hang around. So my wife is a Brazilian. I have certain family members. Let's just say I say, okay, well, I want to let you hang out with my cousins or whatever. I mean, I think they'll be cool. They might be cool as my cousins, but then I don't know them as just single women or married women. I don't know them outside of that. I just know them as my cousin. I think one of the biggest disservices that we can do is not allow them to be connected to their own community. What do I mean by that? A lot of times when people from foreign women, specifically from countries, come over here, one of the biggest things that we can do to kind of hedge our bet, so to speak, because like Brother Mervin said, it is a degree of a risk, is to make sure that they are connected with people of their community in WhatsApp groups. Now, these groups exist all over the world with every community in the world, with every nationality in the world. And when they come in this region, like my wife's friends are exclusively Brazilian. She told me a few years ago to have relationships with American women, but she was dating a guy, and when that relationship ended, she gave the guy every single thing that he had given her. And her, I guess, American friends and sisters, they were upset with her because they told her it was stupid, that she shouldn't have done that. And she said, no, I had to do that because it would have been dishonorable to take something that was no longer mine. And they literally, like, they were for real mad at her. And so she said that was the last straw. And so she just continued to stay connected with people, with women in her community, and that's what she does. So I think that kind of helps bolster them being a part of their traditions, and adhering to the values that they had when you met them. And the cool part about it is too, if we love their culture, if we're intrigued about their culture, we too will become a part of their culture as well. And so their friends will be our friends. And I think it's a good new twist, especially in a sense of us learning that culture. So when we see people when they're out, they recognize us, we recognize them. We may not necessarily speak the language, but we know that we have a new ally, a potential ally in that community because we're in it. I say that whenever you try to connect your potential mate to some, not all, American sisters, um, you might know them one way, but you don't know them another way. And so
Mm.
there's certain mindset, there's certain ideologies that are more accustomed to feminism that they might try to instill in your wife, so, even if but subtly. So my thing is this: whatever country that she's a part of, if you find that community here, let her be with her community, and you join her in that community, and that way she feels a sense of home. My buddy Laish, we were talking about this, and she had visited one place, and she was just like, man, there wasn't a whole lot of people um, from Brazil in the little small Brazilian community they had. She said, but when I went to Tampa, I loved it because it reminded me of home. There are so many Brazilians, and you find that people in those said communities, they want to be around those said communities. They want to spend money in those said communities. Everything they do, they want to do in a part of those communities, and it's not a bad thing because it helps you at home. So I would say if you want to reinforce that, that would be a good thing.
Mm. Okay. So
Yeah,
yeah, I guess. Oh, go ahead, brother.
I'd like to say something. The other thing you want to do is make sure your wife, if you bring a woman here, can connect to her family back home. So I bought my mother-in-law a smartphone, and so so that they could do WhatsApp and do video calls every day, and stay connected to her mother, her two sisters, as well as like they have a WhatsApp group for their family. So more than just that, her aunts, uncles, and cousins. That's another to keep them connected to home, so that yeah, you will have the influence because let's face it, you have American women who will try to undermine your relationship. They will try. They want to do that, and you have to marry a solid woman with solid values who was raised to be a wife and will recognize. When someone's blowing a lot of negativity into their head, but I haven't had that problem, but I understand men fear that. I think that's the biggest fear that men have is that they'll come here and they'll get a whiff of feminism. And I've told guys, I said, well, the reality is they'll get here. And what my wife said, we were just eating at Father's Day. We're eating at a Mexican place, and this group of about 14 or 15 African American women and children came in. I said to my wife, what's missing? She said their husbands. There were no men there. And so if the woman has a good head on her shoulders, she'll see that, hey, I have a husband. Why would I let someone who doesn't tell me that something's wrong with me or wrong with my relationship? But if you, I guess if if you don't, I understand the fear the guys have, but you have to get over that, or else you can just grow old and die alone. You have to make that decision.
Hmm. Okay. So I think I have fun with it. People laugh at me when I say this, but we've been married for 5 years, and we're going on 5 years, and she still don't speak English. So we both speak Portuguese. We both speak Portuguese at the store, everywhere. Even in our disagreements and arguments, it's in Portuguese, which is better because I can't think of anything really bad to say. So it keeps it nice and nice and cordial. Uh, so that whole thing when these women try to say A, B, and C to her, she don't even understand. And sometimes they even tell her what they're trying to say, and she's like, "I'm glad I didn't understand English at that time because I don't like to hear that kind of stuff." So I think that's one of the things that really helped me is that she stayed, like you guys are saying, she's staying within the culture because that's how I met her in the first place. So I think too many dudes try to take these women and turn them into American women, and they wind up being the women that they're trying to avoid. So
Yep.
that was all. Oh, you wanted to say something, Brother Murray?
Yeah. I want to tell you, I've got to run because I had somewhere to take my wife this evening, and I've got to jump off. But I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, same here, man. Don't be a stranger. 'Cause I'm gonna ask the last few questions, and I'm quite sure Larry got some fatherly and hubby duties as well.
All
But I
right. Well, thank you. Thank you.
appreciate you,
Thanks,
brother.
Brother Merv.
And uh, Luke, what's her name? Liza,
Lais. Yeah.
Lais. So she couldn't make it, huh?
No, I guess she had sent me something on what was this? She sent me something on Instagram, and she was saying that she was gonna, send the link there. She said I didn't find. I need the link. Okay, so she wants me to send her the link to your page because she was literally gonna try to jump on the live stream, but every time I tried to send the link, um, for whatever reason, it would kick me off of here, and I didn't want to get kicked off of here, so I had to
Oh,
be
wish I would have known. What is her Instagram?
her
Maybe it's.
Instagram. Let me see. I told
And those people that are here waiting with with this game show music in the background, please hit the like button, share, subscribe. Uh, let's see. I wonder myself. I'm
uh,
still with this Instagram.
her name is Lais. It's Lais.
Lais.
Mm-hmm. Pinheiro.
I.
Pinheiro. Pinheiro.
Okay. So I'm about to go ahead and send it to her. I put a follow there. And this really is she young?
Yeah, Lais is in her 20s. I think Lais is
Okay.
28 or 29.
And she does internal medicine.
No, she's a lawyer.
Okay, this is a different person. Then. It says director. Let's see.
Her
It just says
her profile her profile is she has a mauve shirt on with a blue jacket. It
okay.
says lawyer and law firm.
And this chick that I found is like, got the breast out and everything. And
No, that ain't Lais. I'm gonna copy her URL and I'm gonna send it to your WhatsApp.
okay, but it's Pinheiro.
Pinheiro. I just sent it to your WhatsApp.
Okay, so yeah, please hit that like button because we got to get some experts up here. Oh, here we go. So we'll put a follow there and then send a message. I wonder if she'll receive it from me.
Yeah, she
Sometimes.
would. I just told her, like, I'm literally corresponding with her now on her inbox, and
Okay. And a shout out to any new people coming through. We got Daniel Valencia. Appreciate you coming through. Did I give a shout out to Mel? Big Yale Mel in the building. And so before if she comes up or what have you, let's see. So I guess the last few questions, it's getting towards wrapping it up. So I know you got things to
mm-hmm.
do. I believe is let me see. Oh, how does the men how do the men in general feel about you dating women there?
I mean, you're always going to have people who feel some type of way about Americans in general. They think that Americans think that they're better than everybody else. But I think that that's not necessarily towards many Black Americans. I think a lot of times people just kind of feel sorry for us. They even wonder why we're here with all of the police shootings and the inequality that so many of people face. But for the most part, I'll say Brazil, there are so many women to where they don't care. They really don't. It's like, man, I mean, hey, so many. You take her, it's thousands. We won't miss her. You know what I'm saying? They don't really feel like that. But I will say this: if you are disrespecting their women, they're going to feel some type of way. But I think as long as you are respectful, if you plan on making, I'll use that old term, an honest woman out of that particular sister, then I don't think that they'll have a problem with it. I think the biggest hurdle that you get over, that you have to cross, is dealing with her family. And I say hurdle because a lot of their families are traditional in their thinking. And if you, by just being who you are, can convince them that you're going to treat their daughter or sister uh, right, then you'll have no issues. But the men, I don't think they don't really look at it like that.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, out there, I kind of notice a few dirty macking attempts every now and then out there, and I had to check somebody
Oh yeah.
out there. They figure, oh, he's foreign, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to move in. I'm like, hey, slow your roll, partner. It was a Brazilian brother, dark brother, and I was like, dude,
Mhm.
this ain't what you want, fella. And so I mean, I did experience that, you know. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. And also, question two is, how does the family treat you? How do they take you in?
Man, it was scary because they were so welcoming. I mean, even to this day, if I say my wife's, so if I say sua prima, sua primo, or, sua pai, sua mamãe, your mom, your dad, your cousin, they'll look at me some type of way. They want me to include my when I give those pronouns. My cousin, my mom, my dad. I call her mom, mom. I call her dad, dad. Her family embraces me as their cousin, as their uncle, as their brother-in-law. They embraced me that way, and it was scary initially because I thought it was something that, okay, well, they're just being kind. But it's been almost 3 years, man, and nothing has changed. In fact, it's even increased. I remember I went last year, and then I came back, and then my wife and my son, they went, and I said, well, you guys go ahead and stay. You can stay a month or whatever. It's cool, and then I'll meet you guys back over there. COVID was hitting, it was affecting everybody, and I thought, well, you know what, it might not be good if I go over there. I'll just let them come back and we'll try to revisit it this year. And while I was there, it's like I got so many texts. Oh, we miss you. When are you coming? Are you coming? You know. And yeah, man. So when they love you, they really love you. And I think the biggest thing is believing that people can embrace you to the level and to the degree that they do. So I think that that's the thing. But yeah, you don't really you when they love you, man, they love you. You don't have any issues, or at least I didn't experience that.
Yeah, it's a trip because oh, she's gonna try to come in. Um, it's funny because I laugh. My wife laughs too. They call my name and they go, "My brother, my bro." You know, they try to say words in English and things like that just
Mm-hmm.
to appeal
Yep.
to you. You're from California, you know. And I mean, the whole, whole family. They all. Every time I go out there, you know, all her siblings can't see me at once because everybody's working, but they all visit me like I'm talking about sisters and the brothers. They all visit me like separately. You know, hang out with me, go, hang out somewhere, do the, I think it's, was it Agua de Coco, you
Mm-hmm.
know, beach, stuff like that. And I mean, the whole family, man, is just close knit, man. Um, of course, the mom, you know, Yuli, like you said, mom wants you to call her Mai, right? Or Mamai, that kind of thing. So they all embrace you. They have this whole family thing to where once you in good, then everybody everybody got you.
Mm-hmm.
She said she sent a photo. She said entering the studio. You're entering the studio. I just put it's like, but I can't access it. Really? Let me try this again. It says allow. Oh, you need the camera. You need to access. Need to give access because I think she had a problem because about giving access to her mic.
Mm-hmm.
You need to allow mic access. There you go.
Well, hopefully that was just the issue.
Yeah, because I think she's like not. She probably thinks that it's trying to get into her information or something.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the family thing, I'm always like the big family part. Even if I wanted to, be bad or whatever, I can't because my wife has a big family.
Yeah.
If I
Same
was
here.
if I was asleep around, it probably one of her cousins. You see what I'm saying? So, because people think that, oh, it's a big place, but yeah, but everybody still got family like spread out, and and it was weird because I had a coworker out there, and it was a female coworker, and we were just having lunch, and where her family stayed is far away from where I was staying in Copacabana, and it was crazy because I saw one of her relatives that was at our wedding standing in line to order something, and I'm sitting there like, how in the hell? So I was like, okay, I hope she don't think it's something bad or whatever. Because the sister that was a coworker there, she was kind of fine, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. So yeah, there when you marry into a big family, everybody knows each other.
Oh yeah.
Uh, now, how do the people treat you in general in that country?
Man, I don't know, man. I kind of felt like a rock star in a weird kind of way because no, now let me kind of quantify that. Initially, people thought I was a Brazilian. So when people they try to speak to me, they think I'm a Brazilian. Excuse me. And when I say, eu sou americano, from Estados Unidos, they'll say, "Oh, okay, okay, okay." And then, of course, the typical thing, they try to say whatever it is that they say in English. And I tell them, no, no, fala em português. and they speak, and they just treat me with kindness. They treat me with respect. I've never had any issues. Um, Nobody ever mean mugged me or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm, mine is more of an unrealistic fairy tale type thing, but I have no issues. I've never had an issue out there, man. It's been all love for me.
Now, have you been hit on out there before?
Well, my wife said that I have.
Oh, she noticed it?
Um, yeah, they noticed it. See, I don't really take myself that seriously. Let me say that. Even here in America, I like you got to be blatantly trying to hit on me for me to say, "Oh man, I'm trying to be hit on." I just kind of think people are just being nice, and I keep moving. We had they had a big celebration for me. Their family owns our family. I'm trying to get used to saying our family owns a home and a bakery in the city and a 12-acre farm and a house on the farm, and which is very nice, man. And so they had a big celebration for me, and a lot of a lot of cousins came in, and so they wanted to dance, and of course I was dancing. And my uncle told my wife, get him from around them because they're being a little too friendly. Now I didn't notice it, but then when we later on that night, I said, "What were they doing?" And my wife just looked at me like a deer in headlights. She said, "You didn't?" I said, "No." She said, "You didn't see how friendly they were being?" I was like, "No, we were just dancing. Nobody groped me. Nobody did anything that I thought was in the purview of being blatantly disrespectful." But I mean, I've had that. I've recognized people, like people would kind of gawk at me a little bit if we go somewhere. And I try to keep myself presentable, smelling well, looking good, well groomed, or whatever. And but again, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, they must like my shirt. You know what I'm saying? I don't really think about it like that. They might like my shoes or my outfit. But nobody, to my knowledge, just kind of came up to me and just started, touching me and nothing like that, man. That's not. I never had that happen.
Okay. So you were pretty much in like pretty much the the environment where not too many people were like all up on each other and all that kind of stuff. It was
No, I've been in both environments. I've been in
okay.
environments of, celebratory environments. Excuse me, I've been in isolated family environments. I've been in festive environments. And I just, again, man, I didn't notice it. Now, what's interesting is there's this thing that we're having here in the next couple of weeks. It's called Brazilian Carnival,
Uh-oh.
and it's this, yeah. And so, my wife, she doesn't want to go. She's real traditional, so she
My
doesn't want to
wife
go.
hates
So she
those
said, yeah, she said, so you can go. But then today I was like, oh, you know what? I got to get my ticket. She was like, I don't know if I want you to go. I say, why? She said, well, it's going to be a bunch of single women there. And I said, well, honey, I'm just doing this on a YouTube page. I'm only going for like an hour and I'm coming home. She said, well, you're going to pay all that money for like an hour or whatever. And I was like, but I'm thinking to myself, but did we have this conversation that you told me to go? So I don't know, man. Again, I don't really take myself that seriously like that. So, and even
Yeah.
here in the Brazilian community, I haven't had anybody try to push up on me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a couple times. Usually, I don't know. And this is like in restaurants and stores.
Mm,
And I think sometimes just the way I speak Portuguese,
hmm
uh, I think it gets their attention because they already know that you ain't from there,
exactly.
and I guess they trying to fill you out to see how maybe if you rich or whatever. And so when they start getting the conversation, they start leaning in more and all that, and all of a sudden there's an opening for let me get your information and blah blah blah. And so one, I almost was tempted because
hmm
she was fine. She looked like the chick from remember, I think it's A.G. Johnson from House Party,
hmm
the dark one on House Party. Remember, there's Tisha
Yeah,
Campbell, and she had a dark friend.
I know you're talking about.
She looked like her young,
Wow.
and man, I was like, because she wanted to she said something in Portuguese in a way. It's like, well, I don't draw anything, but I like to learn because you're teaching it and stuff like
Yeah.
that. What did you learn Portuguese? Oh, it sounds, it was a whole bunch of stuff like that. I'm like, shit.
But see, you know what? It's so funny. One of the guys told me, one of the Brazilian, I think my cousin, no, my brother-in-law told me. He said, man, he said, if you notice, most of the time when beautiful women pass by us, we might look from shoulder to shoulder. He said, but we don't turn around. He said, it's rare, man. He said, because there's so many people, beautiful women all over this country, in every city, and everywhere you go. He said, you hurt yourself. He said, so for, excuse me, for everyone that you see, there's millions that you don't, that you haven't seen yet. So he said, they don't really gawk like that.
Yeah, man, because they're kind of common looking on the streets. When they start dressing up, it's like, oh damn, that's when you're like, wow, you know where you at.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
People say Centro over there,
Mm-hmm.
Lapa,
Centro. Mm-hmm. Centro.
those areas. That's when man. I mean, just go where the music is. You hear the loud music, and you like, and it's weird because okay, for you single dudes out there, you don't know because they so fine standing outside. You don't know to get your action outside or go into clubs
Yeah,
or the
that's true.
bars. You
Yeah.
know, it's amazing, man. And I mean, I just recommend people to at least go once.
Mm-hmm.
What she say? She said, "What's her message?" So we'll try next time. I can't access. So she can't. I guess she can't make it.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do it on the next go round. I was actually going to do a show with her. It's so funny. She and I, we toyed around with probably trying to start like a pseudo dating site.
Uh
And
oh.
I mean, obviously, we weren't going to try to compete with Brazilian Cupid or anything like that. But she has a lot of single friends. And I told her, I said, guys are always inboxing me saying, "Hey, man, have any Brazilian friends, or your wife have any Brazilian single friends?" And of course, I would always direct them to the Brazilian community in their city because they, unbeknownst to a lot of people, there are Brazilian communities in their cities. And so I talked to Lais about that, and we laughed, and she said, "Well, yeah, I got friends." I said, "Well, we can vet the people and connect them with each other, and just kind of go from there." So that's something that we're just kind of like bantering back and forth with. But she's really cool. I guess in California, you guys will say hella cool. And she's very cool, man. She's a cool sister, and I know her. I've spoken to him a couple of times. Her fiance, he's an American, real cool guy, brother named Eric, and yeah, man, he's really cool. I think they're gonna make a great couple.
Cool, man. And if you want, I put some questions. I mean, I put a link down in the chat if anybody had any questions. He doesn't have much time left, neither do I. So if anybody have any questions based on what they heard, please come up. As far as your opinions, if you just keep them short, we don't need a Gettysburg Address. But yeah, if anybody have any questions on things that you may need to know from the people that have been there and done that, we're here. If not, then we're just going to go ahead and close this baby out. Um, yeah, so that's it's my little Sunday thing, but we're gonna grow regardless. We're gonna grow.
Well, man, listen, bro. I want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for hearing my story. I know he's probably, I mean, obviously he's gone, but shout out to brother Merv for carving out some time. That was my first time hearing his story at nauseum. I heard a little bit of it on a podcast that he had done prior. But it was good to hear his story, to hear him answer some questions. He's always come across as a very kind person, and he just reaffirmed that. And let me say this to you, Art, man, your skills are like, man, wow, brother, it's muito top, muito top.
Obrigado.
Yes, man, it's very, you have very nice art skills, man. And shout out to everybody in the chat. I hope that anybody who listens to this broadcast and have questions can gain something from it. And of course, as he said, if you have any questions, you can, hit me up. My link is in the chat. You can always feel free to hit me up, ask me any questions. And if I can answer it, man, I'll answer it. And if I can't, then, I'll find the answer somewhere else, but I'll definitely respond to you. I can't promise you that. So man, again, brother, thank you so much. I appreciate the drawing. I'm actually going to hang that in the house. That is awesome. And I'm just going to look forward to my next trip, man, back to the country that I love, man.
Yeah, same here, man. Prior to coordinate the time or whatever. So, have some things going on with our wives and stuff. So,
Absolutely,
man,
yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Building that network, I think we should. See, the thing is, it just sounds like there's a network of people that are dating, and there's a network of people that's trying to marry.
Exactly.
The network of people that's trying to marry, most of them are now on YouTube. We just hook up, WhatsApp, emails, or whatever. But as far as doing broadcast, I haven't heard many. I haven't heard any at all. I ain't gonna lie. We're probably the only ones that really went over it like this. There probably have been people spoken about it, but it was probably like matter of fact type conversation. But as far as a title and all that with some brothers and this kind of nature that we're speaking, I haven't. So I probably try to do another one when I have more of a following. But I appreciate the people that did stick around.
This was awesome, man. This was awesome.
Yeah, because I think we gave them a lot. I know we didn't get the sister to come up, but maybe probably do another one where she will come up and then she can pretty much break down some of the stuff that we've spoken about as far as the visa process, the best way to do things, stuff like that. Because brother, I'm telling you, all right, a lot of brothers are saying I'm not going to marry because I may risk the chance of losing everything I've earned. According to Charles Tyler, Al Greasy, John Thompson, yourself, Brother Melvin, or Mervin, I'm thinking Melvin, Mervin, myself, we got options, right?
Yeah,
so if you don't pick that option, then what, So anyhow, I appreciate you coming through, brother. And we're going to do this again. And I guess you got to do the dad thing. I got to do the hubby thing. I don't even know what I got to make. I can't even eat. So I got to make stuff since I'm the one that cook better. Don't tell anybody, y'all. She can't hear me anyway. Okay. But any words? So I see everybody on Tuesday. Got a treat for y'all on Tuesday. And y'all tune in for the next time. Peace and hair grease.